Right now it probably looks like I'm standing in the middle of a random housing estate, but if I was in this exact spot 20 years ago, I would have been standing in the middle of a random car park. And that car park was right outside Harlow Sports Centre, the first of what we in Britain would now call leisure centres.
These days in the UK, we're quite used to the idea of pretty much every town having a multi-purpose sports facility provided by local government. But it wasn't that long ago that this was a pretty radical idea. In 1960, a report by the educationalist Sir John Wolfenden observed that children in school had plenty of opportunity to take part in sports and leisure activities. But as soon as they left school, most of these opportunities disappeared. And as a result, many of them just stopped taking part. This became known as the Wolfenden Gap, and when Harlow Sports Centre opened shortly after, it was seen as the beginning of an answer to this problem. One newspaper in the West Midlands said it was the envy of thousands of other towns. And in Northern Ireland, they called it a blueprint.
But the growth of leisure centres was slow. By 1972, only 27 had been built. Building them was the responsibility of local government, and at the time, local government in England, Scotland and Wales was widely seen as a complete mess.
The UK was divided into almost 2,000 council areas, many of which had evolved over centuries. A lot of the boundaries hadn't made sense since the Industrial Revolution, and the system was massively inefficient. So in the early 70s, local government in all 4 countries of the UK was essentially rebooted. In total, more than 1,000 councils were shut down, and this revolution led to an explosion in the number of leisure centres being built.
And there are a few reasons for that. One of them is just that the new system was more efficient, so the councils that were left could put more money into things like leisure. But there is another reason. The reforms left hundreds of councils with about 2 years to get their affairs in order and prepare to be shut down. And according to the authors of the Sports Leisure Legacy Project, many of those councils looked at the success of places like Harlow Sports Centre, and they looked at the money that was sitting in their accounts, and they said, why not go out with a bang?
In the 2 years following the reforms, more than 150 leisure centres opened across the UK. And maybe they would have been built in the end anyway, but if we look at the number of leisure centres opening each year, there is a noticeable surge right when these reforms took effect.
Harlow Sports Centre closed in 2010, but only because it had been replaced by a new £25 million leisure zone. And it's worth remembering that there was a time when spending that sort of money on leisure would have seemed like a utopian dream. Nowadays, there are literally thousands of leisure centres across the UK, and at least part of the credit for that is owed to those councillors in the 1970s, who decided to do one last cool thing for their community before shutting down forever.